This is my god-rolled spare rations. It used to be able to hit 34 or 35 meters for max damage. It can now hit max damage at around 26 meters. That is a huge, huge nerf to the potential of this gun, but it still feels pretty snappy. But when you get to those outer ranges, it just can't quite compete anymore. It's got slide shot, rapid hit. It's got ricochet rounds, full bore. It's got a range masterwork. This thing is pretty nutty. This is my AUSTRINGER with the highest range that I ever got. It's got rangefinder. It's got accurized rounds. It's got extended barrel. And it's got a range masterwork. This used to hit at a very decent 36 to 38 meter range. It's brought in a little bit. It's around the 30 meter range. It's about 29 meter, I'm going to say. This was a very good gun. An absolutely beast of a gun. Do you want to know the best hand cannon in the game now? Better Devils. That's right. I'm being serious here. The best hand cannon in the game now is Better Devils. Now, there are other guns that can get explosive payload, which I'm guessing will compete, but with the mixture of rangefinder and explosive payload, this gun is nuts. Now, I think I'm actually missing out on accurized rounds, which would make it even better, but Sunshot, Better Devils, anything with explosive payload literally makes it incredible. This footage is taken at 55 meters. The damage from my gun has hit its max at 23 damage, and it is a 9-shot kill. Now, with the Sunshot at 55 meters, it is 6 shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it would have been a 6. Now, I missed a crit in there, but it's still about 6 shots to get the kill. That is 3 shots less at the same RPM at this distance because explosive payload has no damage fall off. Even though the base damage on the gun has dropped, the explosive round is still there. And so if you're spamming shots at a distance, even if you're hitting them in the body, you still get that damage. Which means that even at a range, if you can't hit those headshots, this gun will perform drastically better than any other hand cannon in the game. And then we started thinking, well, what about something like Better Devils? Now, my Better Devils has a pretty good roll. It's got a range masterwork. It's got the explosive payload, rangefinder. It's even got crossfire. And this one, 5 taps at 55 meters. Now, you got to land all headshots, but it is 5 shots at 140 RPM. So we noticed while testing that every hand cannon in the game, for the most part, around 40 to 45 meters, hits a maximum of damage fall off, meaning that the base damage doesn't go down any further the further out you get. It's harder to hit your shots, but you do like 20, 23 damage, and it is like a 9-shot kill to kill something. And so I was like, well, if we're hitting a minimum, and the explosive is still staying as strong as it is, like what about at 60 meters? What is the kill potential? And it's still 5 shots. I missed my 3rd shot here. So it's still 5 shots. And I was thinking to myself, well, my goodness, that's actually pretty insane. 5 shots at 60 meters isn't too bad, right? You can see I'm tabbing here. 5 shots. 5 shots at 60 meters. And I started thinking to myself, well, what if I went all the way to the end of the dock? I mean, that's a pretty far distance. I don't know how far it is. Let's test it. So we tested around with Sunshot as well at the end of the dock, 75 meters. And it was a 6-shot kill. And we expected this because it's a 150 RPM. It shoots a little faster, but it's 6 shots to kill someone. The Better Devils is still 140 RPM, 5-shot kill. And so we realized it doesn't matter how far you are away as long as you hit your shots. You can be 90 meters, you can be 100 meters, you can be 120 meters away. It doesn't matter. You will still 5-tap with Better Devils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so what this means is, as long as you have explosive payloads, you can compete at much, much further ranges. You can flinch the hell out of targets, and hand cannons with explosive rounds are nuts. They're nuts! We also discovered that explosive rounds doesn't matter the RPM of the gun, really. So if you wanted, technically you could just spam a 180 hand cannon from a distance and just nuke them with explosive damage. If there are 180s that have it, I don't know. I personally don't have one, but theoretically, if you've got a 180 RPM with explosive rounds, you could just body fire and destroy people very quickly at a range. And so he pulled out his absolute max range AUSTRINGER. He's got a range masterwork, full bore, accurized rangefinder. And the most interesting thing happened. He got destroyed every time we dueled. Because if I land a headshot, I get that headshot damage and I get the explosive damage. But if I shoot a body shot, I still get that full explosive damage. And so in trades like this at a distance, I flinch the hell out of him. But also, if he hits a body shot, I'm doing like 4 to 5 times the amount of damage per shot. And making a duel at this range, they have no chance in hell unless they have explosive rounds. In these ranges, even if you're missing shots, you will typically come out with shield still. You'll come out with like 50% of your health. It is extremely hard to lose duels in this situation because they hit a fraction of what you're hitting, even if you're just body shotting. And even if you come closer and you're in the 40, 45 meter, the 50 meter range, the math on it is you always do 4 to 5. If you get closer, sometimes you get into the 4 range, but it's always 4 to 5 shots, where the other players without explosive is always 1 to 2 to even 3 shots more than you to get the kill. And so losing a duel in this situation, you can miss a shot, you can miss 2 shots, and you can still trade with someone or still beat them. Explosive rounds is incredible. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love my spare rations, and as long as I'm using it in a close range, if I'm using it in its intended range, I'm good to go. But the issue is I have to play a lot of these maps very differently than I used to, which is fine. You know, that's adjusting to the gun. And a lot of the times I just choose to snipe now instead of shotgun. I use my hand cannon up close, I use my sniper at a distance. But with the explosive payload, you don't really have to adjust the way you used to play these maps. You can still easily hit in those 30 meters. You can hit those 40 meters. And now that I've seen the damage, I mean, you can friggin' engage cross map if you can hit your shots and compete with pulse rifles with explosive payload. It's gross. It's gross. And so the one thing I'll say is when you are in intended ranges, better devils or other explosive payload guns, they might not feel as nice to use. Or maybe you don't have a roll on it that has some good utility, like a opening shot, or a slide shot, or something like that. Maybe the base stats on the gun, such as reload speed, are frustrating to you. There are other hand cannons, like the spare rations, like the AUSTRINGER. They're good guns overall, and you can still use these guns, and they're going to be very effective guns as long as you're using them in their range. But it is shocking how much the range nerf has impacted some of these guns, and it's shocking how far away you can duel with something like that explosive payload Better Devils. The fact that it's pushing into pulse range, the fact that it's pushing into scout rifle range is crazy. Like, that is unbelievable. And I recognize that this might be a niche thing. Maybe you don't want to exploit body shotting people with explosive rounds, but it might become a Better Devils Sunshot meta if you want to use hand cannons in a lot more situations. I think that overall, pulse rifles are probably going to be strongest in this meta. I'm thinking that once people start getting some god-rolled raid pulses, you're going to see a lot more of them, and they're going to be kind of overrunning the Crucible. But if you're a hand cannon god, if you're a hand cannon main, and you love tapping people with these things, you might want to consider looking for Better Devils. And you might want to consider pushing in all those Crucible tokens in hopes of getting one. Now, I have a small request from people in the chat here, in the comment section. Do you know if there are any 180 RPM hand cannons that can get explosive rounds? Can the Trust get explosive rounds? Because if it can, body shotting with that thing is going to be absolutely nuts at a distance. It will be like the fastest time to kill hand cannon at those ranges. Those crazy ranges that you shouldn't be able to compete. Trust most likely will be able to, because you can just spam shots and get the full explosive damage. So if you guys have seen one, let me know. And that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. And I will see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.